I'm not sure if we're live. Hold on. Yes, we are. Well, hello everyone. This is Nuake development stream number 1. It's been a while since I last updated the website with the blog post. Let me just pull it up. So I think the last blog post was a couple months ago, and not sure why it's not loading. I think the last one was in September, and for the last couple of months I've been working on Nuake. I always felt like I didn't do enough for proper blog posts, but now I'm at a point where I think I've done too much, and I'm dreading writing a new blog post because there's too much. So I figured I might as well stream and show what I've been working on recently. And yeah, so this is a website. You can go to nuake.entopilo.dev and let's get into it. So I think the last thing I worked on in the last blog post was skeletal animations, and since then I've done a lot, including spatialized audio. Nuake now supports C# scripting with .NET 8. Before it used to be exclusively Ren, and now it's C#, and that's what I've been using, and I think that's what I'm gonna be supporting firsthand instead of Ren, because Ren has been quite annoying to work with for larger games in my opinion, and C# is solves so many problems that I've had with Ren. Yeah, so I've made this little game a couple days ago, and it's what I've been using to see where the engine lacks. So what kind of features do I need and what's annoying, what's not. I've made this in around 2 days in the evenings, and yeah, let's everything in this game has been programmed in C#, as you can see. I have this cool C# project, and right now I only have entity scripting. So I have this player, that's all the movement with the character controller, and yeah, slowly I've been building the API, and let's say I wanted to make a player move and then I was missing a function or something, I would just add it. So it's a cool way to use the engine and see what I need in an actual real game development context. So let's play. So it's pretty bare bone. So I have this sword, I can move around, I can block, I can attack, and there's this little character that follows me around, and he runs. So right now I don't have any actual path finding, it's simply moving towards a player. And there's actually, he's a physical object as well, so he can go up slopes. And let's make him fall down. And he has animations as well. And he can attack me, I can block, I can attack him. Ow. And we can eventually kill him. So, ooh, ow. I think there's a bug right now in my script which prevents him from getting attacked if I'm holding it, I think. Oh no, it works. Interesting. So now he's dead. And he can no longer attack me. There's also these physics object that I've placed. This one is a heavier object. The mass is pretty high, so it's actually blocks me if I'm walking into it. It slows me down. And another thing, there's also a trigger under the level, which placed me back. Never mind, it didn't work. So obviously there are some bugs, and this is what this stream is about. It's about seeing what works and what doesn't. All right. So tonight, I would say there are a couple things I've been wanting to work on. And it's gonna be a little bit difficult to explain the bugs and the context of everything. So, first and foremost, why didn't that trigger respawn me? So, I think in the kill zone here, player, let's block something here. And at the same time, you can see as well how to actually use the engine. So this is also self-documenting content. Trigger. So it should be printing trigger when something collides with it. So trigger got triggered again. Now it's working. Okay, so maybe I just needed to compile. What if so I just hit the enemy, and I'm wondering, is it not gonna work? Okay, so after a collision has been, okay, so I think I know what the bug is. Basically, the way it works is every frame in the physics simulation, I'm accumulating every single collision that has happened, and I'm dispatching them if they are on entities. So I'm kind of buffering during the physics step all the collisions callback that I'm going to need to call for the next frame. And that the callback happens in the scripting system and the dispatch physics callback. So I'm guessing it doesn't fall into that condition. That's what I'm imagining. So let's place a breakpoint here and recompile. It might also be that the collision somehow gets cleared when it doesn't need to, but that would be pretty surprising. So let's create one. Okay, so for some reason it's not triggering my attack, and now it does. Do I actually have a breakpoint? No, I don't. Oh, I'm in release mode. I'm sorry. Let's recompile. Okay. So now I have my breakpoint. It's fine. We kind of have one. Entity 0. Okay. Is this gonna trigger? That's okay. Okay, let me first kill the guy. Okay, he's dead. Let's do this, and let's put this here. Okay, so we got entity handle number 7 and number 2, and 343. Okay, so I'm guessing it's not falling into the valid. Oh yes. Okay. So I'm guessing it's gonna teleport me this time. Yes, it did. Oops. My sword is colliding with everything. And it teleported me. Okay, so I guess now it works. Interesting. It's saying trigger. Okay, so weird. I guess we'll look at that later. So what I've been wanting to do is, in the C# API, we have this uncollision callback that's getting triggered every time there's a physics collision between a trigger and an object. So the thing is, this returns an entity, which is what an entity script essentially is. But in a case where, as you can see here, in the weapon, no, let's keep it simpler, the kill zone, we receive entity 1, which is ourselves, and entity 2, which could be the player, could be the enemy, it could be any entity that's triggering it. And right now, the only way to check if the said entity is a player or an enemy is to compare the handle, which is the ID. So the way we're doing is, at the start of the game, we get the player, we save it, and then we check, okay, is the ID of the entity that collided with me the same as a player? If it is, then we know it's a player and we can call respawn on the player itself. So see, we're not using entity 2. Ideally, we would be receiving directly here a player like this. Or using entity 2 as player, something like this. Or even just do this. But, and then I could do like respawn, right? So now we would be removing the need of actually doing that, and would be actually receiving the actual player. And we can even do, if entity 2 is player, then we can call it respawn. And then we could even do, if entity 2 is enemy, then we would be able to kill the enemy, for example. But right now we cannot do this because we are simply receiving an entity that is not linked to any C# instance. So we need to be able to return either an empty entity if it doesn't have a script, but if it does have a script, we need to be sending out the corresponding type and the corresponding instance, so either the player or the enemy. So we're gonna do that. So the way we're gonna do it is by before calling on collision, we want to check if a corresponding C# instant exists, and if it does, return that instance. And if it doesn't, return entity. That's essentially what we want to do. That's gonna add a little bit of overhead, but honestly right now at this point I'm not too worried about performance, as in release mode I get upwards of 800 FPS. Right now C# is not the bottleneck, and I don't think it will be before a long time. So we're gonna do this essentially, and what's neat is we're not calling on collision from C++, we're calling it from C#. So we have this little buffer window where we can do those checks without it being like super dirty and casting and all of these. So we are currently calling on collision internal, which is not visible by the user, but it is still there. So we're gonna go over here, and as you can see, we're calling this from C++ with the two entity IDs. This is not good because with the IDs we cannot directly get the instance. So we need to do those checks ourselves. This means we need to add a C++ call. Entity has is going to be, what do we call these? Has manage instance. This is going to return a bool, and we're passing in an int. And if it does, we're going to be returning a native instance of type entity. Right? Does that make sense? I did a similar call over here. We're returning entity, get entity script. We already have that in the scene, and we're using the name. We need to do another one that's using ID. Get into script from name, from ID. There we go. We're also going to refactor the module. From name, and then we're gonna make another one that's gonna be from ID. It's gonna essentially be the same, except we are using the ID. So instead of doing exist, we can simply do t is equal to ID. This would be an handle actually, and then we pass the scene pointer, and then we can do simply check this is valid, and we don't need to do this. We already have the entity. We get the instance and we return the instance. That is perfect. Did I forget to rename it? From name, yeah, it's gonna be from ID. From handle, let's be more specific. From handle, and then back over here, handle from name, that's perfect. It's gonna be an int. Handle. Cool, that's perfect. And then in the entity has, I think I might as well move this in the scene itself. No, that's fine here. That's fine here. And then the check of if the entity has something that's going to be here as well. No. Has component. Yeah, okay. It's going to be fine here. Gonna store it on the entity itself. Handle. If it is not valid, it obviously doesn't have. What's the name of it? Manage instance. So if the entity is not valid, it definitely doesn't have a C# instance. We can get the scripting engine.net has script instance. We pass the entity. We can return that. As simple as this. So we can make the entity. Don't care if the handle is valid or not yet. If it's not valid, if we even try to use it, it's gonna crash anyway. So we don't have a managed instance if the entity is not valid. If it does, we can simply check in the scripting engine. Does it have an instance in the map? So that's neat. And then it's gonna be has manage instance. And just to make sure, this is in there. On collision internal, that's where we make the little comment we made earlier. So now we have this. Check if a corresponding C# instance exists. If it does, return that instance. If it doesn't, return entity. So let's do this. If entity, okay, we need to wrap this into an unsafe scope because we are calling on manage code has instance. Let's call it this. And now we only care about entity number 2 because we know entity number 1 is ourselves. This is eventually going to go. So if it does have an instance, we need to fetch it. If it doesn't, we don't care. We are returning this thing. So let's do this. It's gonna be entity. It's gonna be entity instance, I guess. Entity instance gonna be called scene.get entity. Now we don't know the type. We don't care about the type actually. It's gonna be entity. As simple as that. We don't care because we're gonna let the user check if it's a player, if it's this, if it's that, for us. So it's gonna be get entity. This is gonna be either it's gonna be the handle. So what does this do? Handle get. If it's not null, we can simply do the type check on it. It's gonna work for us. So we have this native instance. Okay, so it's gonna be of type native instance, and then we can do get on it. Got it. Native instance. Boom. No, not even. This already does it for us. Amazing. It's gonna be normal, I guess. If not, then it's simply gonna be this. Possible null reference. It's not gonna be null. For sure. I mean, it might. But let's leave it like that for now. And then we call on collision with our instance, which might be native, it might not be native. So let's recompile and test it and see. So if it is a player, we're gonna log it. Native player spawn. We'll call it twice for now. Now we don't have the player anymore. That's fine. Okay. So now, if we compile, let's see, did it update? Yes, okay, cool. Let's try it. I'm expecting a crash. Native player spawn, and it worked. So now, what we can do to make sure that this works is go on every single script and actually use the entity we receive. So there's a couple places that I can think of. Right now, we're doing a check if it's the same as the enemy. That was a code we used to do. We don't do that no more. We can simply do if entity is enemy, entity2 as enemy, hit. There you go. We don't even need a reference to the enemy anymore. We're simply hitting, and if it's, what we could do is create a class is hittable, for example, and then we would check if the entity we're hitting is hittable, then we can call the function hurt or hit on it. Now we did with the enemy, the player. Let's do it with the enemy. So if entity2 is player as player, wait, no, entity2. Let's recompile and try it. Hello, sir. We hit you. We hit you. You hit me. And then what I want to do for fun is let's respawn the player if he falls off. So in the kill zone, let's go over here. Well, let's just say enemy fell out the map. Let's recompile. Let's look at our logs over here. And let's throw him out the map. Ooh, see? That's a bug. It didn't trigger. God damn it. I'm hoping he fell. Enemy fell off the map. Okay, so it does work. I think there's a couple bugs with my colliders. But I want to make a little test. Respawnable.cs. And this is going to have a respawn function. And we're gonna make it virtual. It's gonna be throw not implemented. Cool. We're gonna make our player inherit from respawnable. Oh, it cannot have multiple. Really? You cannot have C#, multiple inheritance? Oh. Okay. It needs to be in interface, I think. Yes. Perfect. What? Okay. Let's try this. It's gonna call respawn the respawnable, which is this. It's either gonna throw or it's gonna call the base one. Okay, that is tried. What? What's the type? My type here is base type null. Okay, so apparently... Ooh, is it this that's making it not happy? No. Okay. We cannot do that, apparently. And also, this is not me. Let's look up C# interface. Right. Let's try again. Doesn't like it. Let's debug it. So it's crashing when it's trying to introduce every single type in the game assembly. Nuake.net entity. Let's try this. Okay, so it's doing get base type on it. That kills it. Okay, so let's not do this. Let's say we're gonna fill in a bug on whatever I'm using. Let's do it here. Oop. Let's fill in the bug. Multiple inheritance. Crash when, what is it? After adding more than one inheritance, on a class. Just make a small colleague and face respawnable. Spawn. Public player. Respawnable. Preview it. C#. Submit the issue. Cool. Usually Peter answers pretty fast, so I'm not too worried about that. But now we can call respawn on the enemy if we wish. So let's do that. Let's do three, spawn point. We'll do this, and then on init we're gonna get the spawn point. So get the transform component. Let's do local position. I think that's implemented. Yes. And we're gonna do get component transform. Local position is gonna be spawn point. That's implemented as well. We're gonna do a log for the fun. Respawn enemy. And we're also going to do health 100. Current state idle. It's respawning. And then in the kill zone, gonna do if there's player. If it's an enemy, I'm gonna do as enemy. Oops. Oh no, we removed the respawn. Oh, there it is. Let's make it public. It's public as well. Very cool. Let's compile and try it. So if we throw him out, I don't know why sometimes it's just not working. He fell down. There's no way he fell that far. No way. Ooh, there's an error. Let's kill him. Damn, it's not working. Kill zone. If is enemy respawn. Let's jump off for fun. Native player. Okay, so this works. This doesn't. If enemy is enemy. Does the enemy has a collider? Yes, it does. Is it a ghost that's colliding? That shouldn't matter because it's just like the player. It does have a script as well. That's so strange. Oh, now it's broken. Respawn enemy. He's back. It worked. It worked. Not this time. Okay. I think he could be flying that far off. I don't think so. Let's move it down a bit. And let's make it really big. Okay, worked once. My cat is stepping on the keyboard. Hey. And then didn't work the second time. Okay. This time either. Hello? What do you want? Hey? Trying to help me? Why is it not working? Super interesting. And we did get the call back. That's okay. So for fun, I want to see if we can make him respawn over and over. Oh, it worked once. It worked once. Um, let's over here. Let's do registered collision. So now we will know if a collision is actually registered every time. And if it does, then we know the problem happens in between this and the C#. Actually, okay, now it works. This is some Portal stuff. It just keeps getting faster and faster. 1. And it didn't work. Now it works. It didn't work. Okay. Now let's do it differently. Data. No. Let's do it over here. Okay. If entity2 is valid, no. Test, let's make an entity. Entity2 and engine get scene, get pointer to the scene. So. Nuake scene. Event. Oh yeah, I need to cast it. Now I remember. If is valid, we're gonna do registered collision get the name component name. Let's do physics. Now it's gonna be spamming a lot of collisions. Clear enemy, world spawn, world spawn. Enemy, 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 enemy. Enemy, 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 enemy. So every... Okay, I think I know what's going on. Maybe. So every time I load a scene, every other time I load the scene, somehow the collisions don't get detected properly. And I'm not sure why. Does this get cleared? It does. Clear collision every step. Get user data. Get user data. Okay. Get the handle. Get the handle. Get the handle. Everything should be fine. It's just super strange. See, now it works. No, it doesn't. Now it works. Then it's... Does it happen when I reboot? Or is this just a weird state? So this works. Ooh. It's somehow entities enemy 14. It is valid too. Oops. Works. And it doesn't work. Hmm. So, enemy, registered collision, enemy. For the moment, let's remove these, right? It's gonna be easier to debug. So pillar is gonna go here. Trophy is gonna be 0 mass, so it won't be colliding with anything. And then the weapon as well. Let's save this. World spawn, enemy player. Fine. This is quite a difficult bug. Ooh, this might be it, actually. This might be it. What if we make sure the player doesn't have any gravity? That's cool. And the only collisions we had was world spawn, enemy player, enemy. Okay. So enemy did get registered. Once. That's it. Let me move the player over there so no one else see him. So enemy got registered. Then in this thing, this doesn't work. We actually want a copy. This returns a copy. Let's reboot. Okay. Okay, we got collisions. We got 3 of them. Amazing. What were they? Player, enemy, player. Respawned. You respawned once. Ooh, I'm actually flying. I didn't realize. So respawn. And then that's it. Damn it. That means the callback isn't working. I think. We got it twice. Does it mean... What does it mean? This is called from a job, so where do it needs to be thread safe? Optimize broad face. So I think that's it. Do we have something that lets me know or wait for something to be done? This gets cleared. When does... Is this calling the main or the... It's called over here. It should probably be called here. Now that I think about it, this might help. Because we are stepping through the physics at a fixed stepping. So 60 or 90, I don't remember, frame per second. So it wouldn't make sense for us to call it every frame if we know we're doing it every fixed update frame. Now, this I hope this gets called. Okay, so we are getting so many collisions. Not too sure what's up with that. Respawn enemy. The enemy has been respawned. And it's falling. Now, this could be because I'm braking. For example, the time step gets fucked. Okay, no, it just doesn't work at all. Oh, it worked once. Also for fun, let's also set the velocity to 0, just for fun. Okay, definitely not velocity error. This is not great. Such a strange bug. And I'm also wondering if it's because it's getting cleared in the step here. So what I'm gonna do is, what does this do? Clear collisions. Clear collision data. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, I'm so stupid. No. Get world. It worked. It worked for like 3 seconds. Oh no, the whole thing's broken now. So I probably did something. Now it works. What did I change? Can discard this. Let's discard this and this. This is fine. This is fine as well. Let's try it. So in the beginning of the stream, it was working fine, and now it's not. So obviously something changed. Now it's working. Now it's working. Now it's working. Okay. Okay. I think that's a case of I broke something. Don't know why. It works. Don't know why. That's so funny though. He keeps his. Let's try something. Oh my god. What is that? That is so funny. Let's play it like this. Okay, so I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna do it like this. Why does he keep crashing? Is it gonna be crashing in release? I'm actually gonna commit this as well to make sure I don't break it. Oof. We don't want this anymore. This is fine. This is not fine. This is fine. We don't want this anymore. This is okay. Scripting system. We don't want this. We don't need this either. Kill me, sir. Thank you. Cool. Okay. This is done. Clear collision. Fixed inconsistent physics callback. This is very cool. Very good news. I like the way it works. I like that we now get the proper way of getting our entities. So now, technically, I could have... No, I couldn't. I could have two different enemies and it would respawn on both of them. But with the way I'm getting entities, I cannot make the distinction between the enemy weapon and whatnot. For example, on my enemies, over here, we have this weapon that's over here. Skeleton, blah blah blah. Enemy weapon. And it has an enemy weapon script. On the enemy weapon script, I am looking at my current state. And for that, the state is stored on the enemy itself. So I'm doing scene get entity enemy, which is directly fetching this one. Problem is, if I have two enemies, that name is going to change. So, we need a way of fetching different enemies. So if I make a second enemy, weapon hitbox is going to be looking for enemy stuff. So it's not going to work. It's going to look at the wrong enemy. So I need a way to reference the parent of it. Or I could simply remove that entirely. That whole like checking the state on the weapon, that's dirty. It's not cool. It's not cool at all. I can try adding a second enemy. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's make a prefab. Enemy. Save. Now I have this prefab. Let's save. Fingers crossed. We have enemy 2. It obviously didn't load the model, which is something I need to fix. Let's log it. Let's log it right now. You can also see like my working process. It's, yeah, I have a bunch of stuff. Prefabs don't load skeletal meshes when imported. Assets. It's gonna be, what's the name of this little guy? Character soldier. Character soldier. Sure. Yes. Okay, this is fine. This is arm left 2. There we go. And then we can remove that. Is it gonna crash? Okay, one is following me. I can hit both of them. Is this guy gonna fall off the map? Jesus Christ. Something's definitely not right. He fell so far, he couldn't respawn. Oh. What's up with that? Get the player, get the controller. Oh, we get the model that's under us. Okay, get entity should be relative to ourselves. So we need to have this path of getting the parent or getting the child. I have to do this. It's going to allow me to have non-unique names, because right now, as you saw, when I'm trying to create an entity, it's just like blah blah blah. I can technically like rename all of them the same, but it's just gonna find the first one. So I need to have a way of getting the parent and whatnot. I think we can definitely do we can have an entity path. Now the problem is that now when we do get entity, it cannot go through the scene. It has to go from ourselves. So get entity would be like this instead. It would be on the entity itself. And we could also yeah, that's what we need to do. So this can go in 2 steps. Scene traversal, entity path, rework. Hey Gizmo, stop fighting me. Sorry, my cat is funny. Okay. 1. Allow for non. Okay. Hey, what are you doing? Just playing with me. Cannot have same name under a common parent. What does that mean? That means world entity 1 entity 1 illegal. But we can have world entity 1 entity 2 child 1 child 1 legal. Okay. 2. Allow for absolute path checking. No. Absolute path from scene. It's gonna be something like this. This is gonna be the root, just starting with a slash. World entity 1. That's valid. It starts slash. 3. Relative path from entity. Entity dot either get child. How does Godot work? Get child. Get node path. I can also go from the, okay, it's get node. And it's a node path. Image child, A, child's B, current node, the parent node, a sibling, grandparent, a link assignment that says absolute from the scene tree. Perfect. That's awesome. That's exactly what I was thinking. You know, I'm not stealing, I'm just getting inspired. Get entity. Transparent. Returns sibling. Okay. So that's not gonna be fun performance-wise. That's okay. That's not a worry at the moment. That's something we essentially do once. Yeah. That's a valid ticket for me. There you go. We can even link this. Here, inspired by Godot. Save. It's going to be in progress. Okay, let's design this thing. I'm not sure. Okay, I can probably do it in 2 phases. One is just adding the endpoint, splitting the path, and trying to see what is up. It's going to be some recursive stuff, which is not fun to keep track of. And then I can do the UI stuff where we prevent having entities with the same name and the same level, etc. Stuff like that. And it should be pretty straightforward now that I think about it. Cool. Let's start with the endpoint in the C#. Let's start from the end. That's what I like doing. So this is our entity. Blah blah blah. As component, get component. Public entity. There's nullable. And get entity. All right. And then we want a string, which is going to be the path. Right now, we don't want to do any of this string work in C#. I think I'm just going to send the path as is. And I could even use a path like this. No, what's in there? Or I don't know. It could be cool, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, unsave. Let's get into it. And I think I'm gonna do something like this. It's gonna be entity instance. I'm gonna get the ID and then look if it has a manage instance, and then return that. Otherwise, I'm just gonna return the handle. Entity handle. And then we're gonna do gonna return a bool, and we need ourselves and a string. The reason we need ourselves is once we get over to the C++ side, we're gonna need to know from what entity we're traversing the scene. So if I'm doing ... slash, then I need to get the parent from myself, which is a level above. So that's why I need to do where I'm starting my search from. Entity, get entity. Well, that's a bit confusing, but whatever. So we're doing this. We're doing ECS handle and then path. Path is not null here. Cannot convert type bool to int. I'm confused. Maybe it's the other way around. Oh. That's not a bool. I'm not returning a bool. I'm returning an int. That's my bad. And then this, if it has an instant, we're doing. Ooh, no, we cannot do this. Yes, we can. Perfect. Now we just need to actually implement this, which is gonna be the hard part. Entity. Wait, we need to get to the scripting module. Nuake source scripting net modules scene entity method. Boom, boom, boom. We got our path. So our input could look like this. It could look like this. So first thing we need to check is it going to be relative to the root or not? That's pretty much it. So, damn. Input. Path is going to be input. Okay, we can just cast it as a string. I have a string class, and I can check if it begins with a slash. Is absolute, false, true. And then we start from the root. And then we can split it splits. I should actually do this on the seed side, not in there, but I'm gonna do this later. Path. We're gonna split it with this thing over here. Now we have all of our splits. Um, what do you have here? We have get all entities. It's going to return all the entities. And we don't want that. We want every single entity that has no parents. It's not true. That's not true. We might want to go from our handle. Okay, let's start with the absolute. If it start from the root, an optimized way would be to simply get by name. Okay, yeah. So we have this. Let's say we have our scene. So we have, let's say this working case. And this would be our slash, this would be 1, this would be 2, and this would be 1 again, it could be 1 again, right? It could be 2, and it could be 1, and it could be 2. That works. So if our input is slash 1, 2, ideally we would search from the top, from our root, and then slowly go like this, boop, boop, boop. But that's not how our scene is stored. Our scene is stored sequentially, so it's probably going to be like 1. It's going to be 1, 1. It's going to be 1, 2. And it's going to be 2, 1, and then 2, 2. What we could do is simply, we have a fast way of getting all the entities with a specific name or a specific ID. These are non-unique on different levels, but they are unique on the same level. We could do it simply the dumb way, which is just getting the root, getting all the entities that have no parents. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not super good at like speaking out loud and explaining stuff at the same time, but I'm trying my best. So let's go on our scene. Let's do it on our scene directly. And then we're gonna do let's do this. And I'm gonna place this on somewhere that makes sense. Like this. Get entity from path. And then let's move the stuff we have over here. Return entity from path. Let's get our scene. if is absolute, return scene, get entity from path, input. Get handle. Else, want to do this. Actually, I'm just gonna make it a little bit cleaner. Get relative entity from path. It's relative from an entity. Boom. Now we have two implementations to do. We got the one from the root, and then the one relative from an entity. So let's start with this one. One, we want to be able to split them. So split this. Now we have all of our splits. We want to get all of our entities that have no parents. So let me just there's probably a view somewhere. Yeah, this one. View, all we want is parent component and name component. Parent, name. Okay. And we want a vector of entities. And these are going to be root entities. So I'm going to retrieve all the entities that have no parents. It's going to be if parent has parent. We're going to push it here. It's 12. I'm gonna push this, and I think I'm gonna continue tomorrow. Right in the middle of partial implementation of new path, new entity accessors from path scene create path. So thank you everyone. I'm gonna be focusing on making this work, and I'm in the process of writing the next blog post. I'm gonna try and go over as much as possible, but I don't have any promises. I'm gonna be showcasing all of this. I think I might split it up into multiple blog posts so I can have a more consistent release basis of news. But yeah, I'll see you in the next stream. Thank you.